That is my clap. Welcome to the Side Sessions, ladies and gentlemen. What's up? My name is Sai Jones, and today we have a very special episode and a very special guest. We have a master of the industry here today, and as I always like to say it's a special episode simply because we get to look on the other side of what the industry has to entail, just not the creative, but the corporate, and we get to learn some stuff. So follow me into this learning journey, ladies and gentlemen. So without speaking too much, I want to introduce Munya. Munya, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Chanetsa. See, that's also me learning some Shona.
There we go.
You know, it's
small.
Some small stuff.
Yes.
You are from Zimbabwe, it's mentioned, born and bred.
Born in Zimbabwe, correct. Raised in different places, though.
Tell me about the different places.
Because my mother's South African, by the way.
Oh.
So my mom's South African, my dad's Zimbabwean. So grew up so at the time when I was born, my father was into government.
Oh yeah.
My dad used to work very closely. He was actually the press secretary for Mr. Mugabe. Back in the 80s. So that means he used to write his speeches and stuff like that. Huge. So there were levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, he was also a deputy ambassador for Zimbabwe. So that meant that he used to travel quite a lot as a family. So I think, majority of my childhood I spent in the UK, in the United Kingdom. UK for like the first 5 years. Then we spent a year in Russia. We spent another 5 years in UK. And then came back to Zim. So
my goodness.
Settled in Zim in '95.
You do sound like someone who's highly cultured and someone who's highly traveled. I don't know why I'm saying that, but you do sound like someone who's got like a worldly kind of insight.
It's important. I think travel, like when I have kids, I think travel is so important. Absolutely. It's like we got to move.
Show the kids different places.
Different cultures. It also makes you more, is the word compassionate or more sensitive? It's almost like you just become more, just culturally appropriate as well. You start respecting other people's cultures and stuff. You understand that my culture isn't the only one. So, that kind of vibe.
Yeah. So then how did you end up in South Africa?
In SA? So probably in 2007 when I finished university. So I studied in Australia, a university called Curtin University. I did a double major in marketing and advertising. And 2007, I came back home, and at the time in Zim, there wasn't much for me to do. And the options I had was join the family business. But actually, no, I didn't even really think of it. It was just, my dad actually is the one who was like, listen, I think, try your hand in South Africa. Your sisters are there. So I've got my two sisters they were studying at UCT at the time. Both of them are lawyers. And he was like, go to South Africa and just see what you can find there. And that's when I moved to SA then, 2007. I came for like 6 months or 3 months. Nothing happened. And I remember just came back home. And I was like, Dad, there's nothing happening. Just come back. And then he was like, try one more time. And fortunately, the second round when I tried, that's when I managed to get my first job.
What were you looking to do?
I was looking to, and I got a whole lot of rejections. Man, it was crazy. I was just looking for advertising and marketing positions.
Okay.
Straight up.
Okay.
That's it. Just marketing so just sending out CV, trying. And then nothing worked.
That's South Africa for you.
Nothing's
That's
changed.
South Africa for you.
That's SA. So it was tricky.
And then you eventually found something in that field.
So what actually happened? Well, I did find something in that field. I got a marketing and promotions job. And this is where I feel that music is something that I've always loved. Genuinely. I mean, I'm that kid where when I was a kid, when it came to school plays, I was in the choir.
I see.
I was that kind of kid. In Zim, there used to be an event that happened annually called HIFA, the Harare International Festival of Arts. I was that dude that I used to volunteer as a teenager and just do things. And I remember I eventually became assistant stage manager at one point. At HIFA. So music has always been something I've just genuinely loved, actually. I remember I've done music courses, and I used to do like singing lessons. And I've done lots of things.
Okay.
But I'm glad I found my space, because
Okay.
I don't think this singing and stuff will
Yeah.
quite. So,
We'll get to that.
so eventually, I remember the second time round when I came back, what actually happened is I decided that, I remember thinking, you know what, Munya, I love music. And at the time, so this is like in 2007, and I remember thinking, there seems to be a gap. I was based in Cape Town. So I was like, there's a gap definitely for Afro beats, and there's a gap for dancehall music.
Sure.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I'm going to become a DJ.
Okay.
And I'm focusing on those two
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So I was now playing, I had DJ names in my head.
What
and
was your DJ
my
name?
DJ name?
Yeah.
The real name was, I was going to go for either DJ Mazza
Okay.
or DJ Lime C.
I see.
And Lime C is an anagram of the word smiley. So that would have been DJ Lime C on the decks. So I remember on that journey now, I remember I linked up as a very close family friend. We grew up together in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And even till, I don't know if he's still DJing, but at the time he was really but he was more in the trance space. His DJ name was, I think, Headspace. Yeah.
That would be a name you have if you're in the trance music
It makes
space.
sense, yeah. His name is Adam, by the way,
Yeah.
Adam Metcalf. And he took the time. I remember when I was in Cape Town, I was like, yo, Adam, since you're in the space, can I at least learn the principles of the basics for me? So he was like, pull up to my crib. I'll show you what you need to get, etc., etc. And I was like, happiness. So I hit his crib, and just a random day, we were just chilling. He's showing me the equipment. He's showing me kind of things to do. And then his sister pulls up, Sarah. And Sarah was like, yeah, I hadn't seen her in a while. So she was like happy to see me, and we're all happy to see each other, and we're catching up. And she's like, what are you doing right now? I shared that I'm looking for work. And that's when she was like, what did you study? I said, marketing and advertising. And she was like, at my husband's work, they actually are looking for someone for marketing. If you don't mind, let's see what we can do. And there and then she called her husband, and he was jumping on a flight. So he was just like, listen, I'll call you back in an hour. What's up? I think she kind of briefly told me. He was like, okay, I'll get back to you when I land. I think he was in Cape Town, and he was flying to like Durban. So he landed, probably an hour or two passed, and then he called back. He was like, okay, listen, I spoke to his boss, which was soon to be my boss. He spoke to her, and she was keen on having a meeting. And he was like, if Munya's keen, can he pull up to it was a home office. Can he pull up to the office and have a meeting, and then you guys take it from there? Of which, that's exactly what I did. And that's how I got my first job. And fortunately, it was within the music industry. So my first job was working as promotions and marketing manager for a company by the name of Putumayo World Music.
Okay.
So they used to, it's a New York-based record label, and what they used to do, they used to do a lot of compilation albums. And I don't know, I'm not too sure if they're in the air, but they're the kind of CDs that you used to see at coffee shops. They had this really nice artwork.
Oh yeah, okay.
They used to do these, you find them at airports and that kind of
Yeah.
And that was my first job.
That is such an interesting story to know, because in my mind I kept asking myself, are you more of a left brainer or are you a right brainer? So like,
what's the answer?
Yeah, it seems like you started as a left brainer, creative, but as soon you are creative internally, but then expressically, I create my own words.
I like that.
Expressically, you expressed as more of a writer, like a right brainer, someone who's more rational and who's more of I don't want to use the word corporate, but the opposite of what a creative is. And
Gotcha.
is that a correct identification that I'm trying to make? That
I guess
how creative do you think you are in like, do you think,
how would I measure that?
because you mentioned that you essentially thought about being a DJ and you had this
Correct.
passion in music, and
Correct.
there was a choir conversation as well.
Yes. I
Yes.
used to be in choir at
Used
school.
to be in
and
choir at
I
school.
did some singing things.
So then at that point in your life, did you see yourself taking this direction of creativity and music?
If I'm being honest, I think much like many people, I don't think I really knew. I just know, the only thing I did know was that I just love music.
I see. Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I
As in, it was just like, that's one thing I just knew, that music is something I can vibe with. I'm happy to listen to music all day and do listening sessions and doing it out. And I was very, also as a kid, one of the things that also, fed into this, so my parents are still there. There's a road in Zimbabwe called Willowmead Lane, and there was some very close, friends of mine. There was a family called the Reba family, and I've also got my very close boy till today, Taff. He lived up the road. So we all lived on this road, all three of us. But the Reba family, they were really into music. They were into entertainment. They used to do films and stuff. They were responsible for shooting, I think, for doing films like Yellow Card, Neria. These were like big movies in Zim. Yeah, and
I even feel like I know those.
you know those names?
Yeah, I even feel like I know those.
There's probably a couple others.
Yeah.
There was Jet, and so they were into entertainment space, and they also really they exposed us to a lot. When we used to go to this house and we used to chill all the time, they'd be exposed. We used to get exposed to a lot of music. They did a lot of stuff with Oliver Mtukudzi. And so we used to go to concerts as kids and attend these things. So all of this kind of fed into I guess, who I ended up becoming.
Okay, but it never was someone who is in entertainment as an artist.
Everyone dreams of being on the stage, but I don't think I ever really saw myself thinking that one day.
Because the interesting thing about the story is that the way you painted it, eventually someone goes, I'm passionate about music, so ideally I should be an artist. They don't think maybe I could be something else.
Yeah,
you get me? They think I should be an artist.
Focus on the music.
So that's why I wanted to understand as to what level you were thinking at that point.
Yeah.
I'm in my mind when you had told me what you just told me, I'm just like, he was probably thinking, I don't want to be broke.
Yeah, that's it. I need to put food on the table.
It's probably, I don't want to be.
That's the life we got to. Yes.
So I need to be here. I need to be working.
Yeah.
I need to be working. So
Yeah.
I just want to you told us now the story of just, let me say, your previous life.
Correct.
And now, as I understand it, you've been at Capasso as a licensing.
So, yeah.
Yes, a head of licensing.
So I was
there.
heading up the licensing. So after my time at Putumayo, I first joined a company by the name of Content Connect Africa.
Okay.
And that is an aggregation company, which means they do digital distribution, basically.
Yeah.
And I spent a vast, in terms when I took career, my majority of my career was spent at Content Connect Africa, and that really helped me. My journey. If it wasn't for Content Connect Africa, I wouldn't have traveled as much as I did, especially around the continent.
Okay.
And my job evolved there so many times. Let me say I got promoted. Let me say that. So initially I started in marketing, and I think I was head of marketing there at some point, and then it evolved into A&R, and then that job then evolved into head of operations for the continent. And then alongside the team, I was responsible for opening up offices for Content Connect Africa in Uganda, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Angola as well. So that job really just it did set the tone for a lot.
Okay, that makes sense.
And helped expand my network, especially continentally. I spent a lot of time in Nigeria. Nigeria is one of my favorite places. I think Nigeria is a place where there's no middle ground for Nigeria. It's either you dislike it or you love it. And fortunately, I love that place just because of the energy. Then again, people are always like, Munya, is this because you're visiting? Stay here and you'll see. So who knows? But genuinely, and I learned so much in Nigeria. And I think, Nigeria also, spending time in Nigeria and engaging with people, and I saw how serious the industry actually is. In Nigeria, a lot of the managers and the like, and the way people think is just. I remember I was having a conversation. It's a conversation I always remember. There's a dude by the name of Tega. He's I think he's now the COO of Maven Records. He's actually Don Jazzy's nephew, and he's been part of Maven. And I remember, so we spent time together. Every time I pull up, I'd holler, we'd have lunch and dinner, and we'd chill. And I remember once he told me, I was like, Munya, the thing with Nigeria is that because of the population, and we have almost limited resources. So it's like we're playing a game of chess where we have to almost think not just one step ahead of someone, we have to think almost 10 steps ahead to try and stay ahead. If that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because once something drops, it almost becomes a gold rush. So in order for you have to maximize and get as much as you can from whatever, you know what I mean? And I remember thinking about and the way that he would now, I remember the way they were thinking, the way, and this actually is, I had a very interesting meeting. I've got a friend who's in the ad agency, and I had a meeting with them actually on Monday. And he was saying to me, he was like, Munya, how come we don't see music rollouts that happen in SA like the way they do internationally? Like, some of the rollouts are crazy that you see internationally that happen. And I was like, actually, it's a good question. I said, I'm not too sure. I don't know why.
Okay.
But I wish we did, because rollouts make it much more exciting when a drop is about to happen, all these different things. So, for example, with Tega, when I remember once, there's another artist by the name of Dr. Sid. He was part of the, I don't know if he's still part of the Mavens, but he was part of the Mavens at the time. And Dr. Sid, and a lot of people didn't know he's a qualified dentist. And they had built this rollout and campaign that worked in with Colgate and Dr. Sid and his new music. And I was just like, man, that's insane. And these are things that opened up my mind. And even actually this guy from Ogilvy, I don't know if I should have said Ogilvy, but this guy from the ad agency, he was like, for example, when you're with AKA, he gave this example. He was like, with Touch My Blood, with AKA, how come no one thought to think, why don't we holler at the blood donation peeps and do a situation where just to encourage people to donate blood, Touch My Blood, have someone do that, and whilst you're doing that, you get a free copy, or maybe you can listen to it, or maybe you get access. Once you give blood, you get a special thing, and you can come and listen to have a private screening or private listening set. And I was just like, for real, why aren't we doing those things?
Yeah.
And I wish we could. But anyway.
Why? Because now my next thing was going to be having worked with Content Connect Africa, and then you've kind of opened up all these offices in all these different countries.
Yeah.
What kind of comparison in terms of differences which you have seen having worked in South Africa compared to these other countries?
I mean, the thing with SA is probably on the continent the most established industry in terms of having structures and things in place.
Are you being for real right now? You just went on like Nigeria.
No. I'm talking about structures.
Okay.
I'm talking about for example, the structure. The effect. There's the SAMRO. There's Capasso. They've got structures in place like that. That's what I mean. So they've got this. The industry it's got the best structures, and. Wait, what was your question?
I was like, what's the difference, and what have you seen has been the difference in the music and entertainment industries in these countries when you were just working?
I think what I would love, what I think should happen more is that thing of travel and exposure more. I was fortunate to learn these things only because I was traveling.
Yeah.
Now imagine, like, I feel that even like, especially for example, say you work at a major label. I think people should be traveling to go to other offices to understand how are things working, how do people do things in different places, you know what I mean? It's only that's the only way for us to grow and to learn. Like, so I think things like travel is important, and doing that culture, that exchange and shit like that. Sorry,
no, you can curse.
Okay, thank you. And saying shit like that, I'm joking, and stuff like that. So things like that, being exposed and understanding and learning and just exchange. I think those are the things that I wish would happen more.
I wish the rollout thing would happen more in South Africa. Absolutely. That sounds genius.
I mean, but it almost feels it's normal anywhere else. If you know about like other people do that, and that's why you see like the brand deals make sense, the partnerships make sense and stuff.
True.
And I mean, but some artists are doing it for themselves. I mean, I remember I was saying someone who I respect highly is Moonchild, for example, because there's so many things with that lady that. I know a lot of people just see the bums and that's what they think it is, but that woman works so hard.
Yeah. I
respect her greatly, and she's very intentional, and there's a lot more strategy behind what she does than people think. And so I guess sometimes the creatives have to kind of just do it themselves. You know what I mean? And she's a great example, I think, of someone who's done it for themselves.
We'll definitely get to that, because for me, that's the suckiest part about being a creative. Because then when you started speaking as someone who's got this background in advertising and marketing, then I see exactly flip, this is where someone who has that background would essentially be so beneficial in this, in it, to maneuver within the setting of a creative and assist the creative. That's where that creativity comes.
Yeah.
Then you guys think of stuff like that, like
Yes.
the advertisers.
Absolutely.
Because now I'm mind blown from what you just told me about the rollout. Do you understand? Like, I'm so mind blown.
But that's how it should be.
It should be like that, right?
Why shouldn't there be? As in, and like,
but-
why isn't there a company that just says, listen, just before you drop your album, we will sit with your album, we'll dissect it, we'll see where there's potential in different singles and different songs. We'll try and understand, what did you mean by this bar, or what does that mean? Okay, so maybe there's an association with this and this brand, and maybe, and just to map it out so that you can now, once you do drop, there's a rollout, you've hit up the brands that make sense, and the endorsements, and it just it's more exciting.
So then I would then straight up want to jump into your work at Sony
Okay.
and kind of understand what kind of work you were doing there at Sony.
Okay, so the time, so I was at Content Connect Africa. From Content Connect Africa, I then hit Capasso, of which I was the head of licensing.
Yes.
And then from Capasso, that's when I hit Sony. So just to quickly touch on Capasso quickly,
Please
is that
do.
my time at Capasso really showed me a lot, because by the time and this was probably like 2018, 2019, I spent vast time like I'd been in the industry for almost a decade at that point. And I thought I knew shit until I joined Capasso, and I realized I really did not know.
Okay.
It's what I didn't know anyway. Let me say the area I didn't know was the copyright and publishing world, and what I call the struggle that what I call the forgotten creatives, the songwriters and producers experience. And that's when I was just like, man, this is insane. And during my time at Capasso, that's actually even also when, number one, there was a project I did drop where it was inspired by the whole, I called it Happy Endings, the Mbube story. Because whilst I was at Capasso, one of the things I had to do was I had to go to school, because as I said, I didn't know much about all this publishing. So
And study what at school?
I went to the Academy of Sound Engineering.
Of Sound Engineering, okay.
And they were offering a masterclass in music business.
Okay.
So that's what I did. Also, by the way, if you want to talk about school, whilst I was at Content Connect Africa as well, I remember I also studied at Henley Business School.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, they were offering an MBA in Creative Services.
Okay.
I think, who else did that
What
course?
is an MBA in Creative Services, sir?
So it's-
Because,
it was
I
literally-
did tell you this before we started, that, having looked at your portfolio, I'm asking myself, what does one study to enter this kind of space? But I'm happy we're going into it right now.
So
Like, what is?
it's an MBA. It's combining an MBA, which a lot of people understand is one of the toughest kind of, not would I call it degree course? I don't even know.
That's why
Toughest
I need
things
to
you can
know,
do.
sir.
So it's an MBA. We may have to Google exactly what it is. Let me be honest. MBA, but they combined it. So usually MBAs, I think, are kind of like standalone. You can just do an MBA in various different areas and different courses. And so, but they created one, and they were trying to do something different and do one for the creative industry.
What did it entail? What did it have? Like, what kind of
So
work?
it had different. So it talked about, in terms of the work, there was talking about managing people. There was that kind of thing, managing creatives.
Oh, okay.
It talked about managing finances for creators.
Oh, okay,
It talked
okay,
about obviously
okay.
the industry things, the day-to-day kind of things. I'm trying to think, what other things were there? It was a good.
Was it a good-
I did enjoy it, and they did do the things.
Okay.
And there was so that it was more just like, just like trying to just tailor make something for creatives.
Okay.
Not creators, people who want to be in the creative space, who aren't creators, but the business side, basically.
Okay, so I get it, because in my mind it sounded like, because you can never teach someone how to be a creative. That's like,
No, you
because
can't.
creativity is something
You have it,
you have it,
you
or you don't.
yeah,
Yeah,
facts.
so that's why I needed to understand exactly. Okay,
yeah.
continue on the
So
conversation about
MBA.
Yeah.
So I did an MBA in creative industries. No, I didn't complete it though. Let me be honest with you, because this is like in 2014, and this is where things started ramping up at Content Connect Africa. And I remember I sat with the dean at Henley, because I got a scholarship as well to do this. And I sat with the dean, and I was like, listen, at work, my work is just ramped up where I'm traveling, and this is when I was traveling a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I'll fail. Like, I could see I was going to fail this. And he was like, okay, don't worry. What we'll do is, you don't have to do the MBA part, but maybe you can do some of the courses within the creative industries part that we've done.
Okay.
And that I did those, and that was cool. Because MBAs are no joke.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. So
intense.
I can imagine.
So that was studying. So yeah, I just went back to talk about studying.
Yes.
So that's also something that I did. But yeah, so I was at Academy of Sound Engineering, and I remember when it came to the chapter on copyright, and one of the biggest copyright infringement cases globally that ever happened was Mbube. And a lot of people aren't aware of this. And I remember I was shocked. I was like, that's crazy that the biggest one is from South Africa, where a gentleman by the name of Solomon Linda, 1938, he composed and wrote and performed a song by the name of Mbube. Today, that song is known as Lion Sleeps Tonight. And it's earned, I think, at the time, they were saying it had earned over like $60 million. And yet the family was never received anything, It was just one of those situations. And I remember genuinely being touched about this. And so I remember reading about it in class, and I was like, that's crazy. Anyway, then my lecturer at the time, a gentleman by the name of Ryan Hill, he's the MD of Universal Music Publishing. And he was lecturing, and he suggested that we also watch on Netflix a show called The Lion's Share. So
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, no, do you should. It's heartbreaking. So I remember, I watched it. I mean, first I read about it, and I kind of moved on with life. And then one random day, I remember I watched it, and I remember thinking, why is no one doing anything about this? This is terrible. So that's what inspired me to try and do this Mbube project. Not try, I did do it. I just didn't, I guess I didn't get the results I would have really wanted. I didn't go as far as I would have wanted, because it was out of my own pocket type thing. And finances, it's a tricky thing. So, so I did the project. I managed to find the family. I reached out to their family. I was able to engage with them. I got the green light, because in copyrighted music has copyright has a lifespan. So the original Mbube that had been composed was now out of copyright. So technically, that means it's in what they call public domain. So that means you can use it without seeking permission.
Yes. What is the lifespan, by the way, just to digress?
I think locally it's 50 years.
Okay.
Is it 50?
Yeah.
It's 50. Yeah, it's 50 years. It's 50 years. And I know that's why.
I had no idea copyright has a lifespan.
Yeah.
Swear to God, I had
After
no
the
idea.
death of the composer, that's when it kicks off, and then it's 50 years. So yeah, so technically, and the way copyright works, it's an asset. Even though it's not tangible, but it's an asset, and it's something which your heirs can earn. That's why it pained me that the family were not earning off this. This is something which should have been getting passed on generation to generation, and the money should have been going accordingly. But this didn't happen, and. So I mean, I was very fortunate. I reached out to the family. I said, listen, it's out of copyright. However, I do want to try to do things properly. I want to redo a new version of Mbube. And I was very fortunate. I had these two great producers. Boki Alt was one of them, as well as Cuba.
That's my guy.
You know Boki?
Yeah, I know Cuba
Boki
too.
and Cuba, those are my guys.
Yeah,
they produced it
those
for
are my
me.
guys.
I managed to get the legendary Mahotela Queens on the track, so they redid it, and we dropped it. We called it Mbube 2020 because we dropped it in 2020. And I remember. So I mean, things like that, and these are all learnings that also during this thing I experienced, and I learned a lot. And but then that took me on to. I just wanted to fill in that space. And also during this time, this is also when the seed of MOTI got planted in my head.
Yes.
Because during this time at Capasso, I was like, if I don't know all this stuff about copyright, and I've been in the industry for almost a decade, what chance does anyone who wants to start? So that's where the seed was planted as well. So that's all of that was happening at the time. However, then an opportunity was shared to join Sony Music Publishing. It it wasn't. It was a role that didn't exist there, so it was kind of cool.
It was a role that didn't exist
At the publishing side.
Okay.
At the time,
They made a role for you?
Well, they didn't make a role. It just wasn't there. I don't think they specifically said we need this for Munya. I think it was a role that they created and they needed someone to now fill in. And this is on the publishing side of things, not the record label side. So a lot of people also don't understand there's a record label and there's publishers, you know.
Just touch on what
So
the
just
difference
basically is record labels deal with performing artists. The person you see on TV, who you hear on radio, all the artists that you know, they're signed to record labels. Publishers deal with songwriters and producers. That's the basic thing. And the function of our publishers is to do three things: to protect your works as a songwriter and producer, to make sure you get your royalties, because a lot of songwriters and producers are not aware that they have royalties due to them. And the third thing is to keep you busy as a songwriter and producer. So that's whether that's having you write songs write or produce songs for other artists, and also publishing also deals on the production side of music. And when I say production music, now I'm talking, we also do what we call synchronization deals. And synchronization is not, a definition of a synchronization deal is when you put music to moving pictures. That's the definition. So where does that happen? That happens when adverts, there's music, there's moving pictures, there's film. In television, in film, in computer games now. Those are all technically what you call sync deals. And it's not only commercial songs as well. Sometimes, you know, there's also what we call bed music or background music in movies. It sets the tone. You know, when it's a horror movie and you hear certain song, you now feel it's a horror movie. Those kind of things. So that's what a publisher is. That's the difference.
And which side were you on there?
I was on the publishing.
I see.
So I came from Capasso, and Capasso, which is just also share. Capasso is one of the collection management organizations in South Africa. Yes. One of, I think, 5. Yeah, one of 5. There's Samro, Capasso, Risa, Sampra, and Echo. There we go. So, and one of the things people don't realize, because, you know, and I was actually talking to someone about it the other day, you know, people always just, like, Samro's the only thing people always know.
That's true.
Samro. It's like people always just say, I've signed to Samro, but there's so many other CMOs and they have different functions. And Samro and Capasso, they both deal with composers, authors, and publishers. That's their function. So that means composers, authors, you can say producers, songwriters, and publishers. That's who they deal with. Sampra deals with more performing artists. They're the actual now whoever's performing. So because now the chain, how it works, because I was working at Capasso, so as I said, Capasso stands for Composers, Authors, and Publishers Association of South Africa. That's what Capasso is. So through that's how then the Sony. So Sony makes sense because I was,
yes.
You get it. So that's how it all makes sense. So I was already kind of dealing with publishers, and then the Sony opportunity came, and I joined a publishing company, and I joined Sony. So my job there was, I was the A&R manager for the continent. So that job entailed, so A&R, so you have A&Rs in record labels and you have A&Rs at publishers, but we just have different functions because as an A&R, my job is to find the best songwriters and producers, whereas an A&R on the record label, they're looking for the best performers. Artists.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
We're together?
100%.
Okay. So my job was to find the best songwriters and producers for Sony Music Publishing and to sign them and carry out the functions of a publisher.
I see. Because I'm just going back to talking about the kind of this role. I think it's still in my mind. Okay. And when you were saying that we're just chatting about why aren't we doing it like that, and in my mind I'm like, but you worked at a major, then you should have the answers as to why their artists are not rolling out like that. But then now you're telling me you're not on the record label side. Yeah. You're on the other side.
I was on the publishing side.
You're on the publishing side. So that's something that's good to know.
Yes.
Are you do you feel like when you were there at because Sony is a major, do you feel like when you were there at the major that's when that idea came to you that perhaps you could have shared it on the other side and like, guys, this is something.
This is a conversation I had last week. So, as in, it's definitely something which I'm sure I'm being conscious of it, like rollouts and stuff, but I haven't
just
vocalized
tools
it.
in general
Like,
that
I haven't
would
vocalized
make.
it like that.
Okay,
No.
yeah.
I haven't vocalized like how I vocalized it today. I hadn't vocalized it until
Oh,
I
I
had my
see,
meeting
okay.
with my friend at the ad agency.
Oh, okay.
And we were engaging. Then I thought it's true though. So it's not
Wait.
something I really thought about.
This conversation was last week.
Yeah, not even last week. It was this week.
Oh,
Today's what, Thursday?
And okay, never mind then.
Yeah,
then it doesn't apply. Okay,
Yeah, so it's-
okay,
yeah.
sorry. Then it doesn't apply. Okay, then it doesn't apply. Oh, okay, cool. So from then understanding the journey from Sony, you're now at Empire,
Correct.
and you're MD at Empire, which sounds like a big ass deal. Just so you know,
It sounds like it.
I think it is a big ass deal.
It is a big deal. It is.
It
Let me
is.
be
So
real.
so what exactly does being an MD at Empire entail?
So to be specific, so I am the managing director for Empire Publishing.
For Empire Publishing.
Correct.
Very good to specify.
Yeah. So, I mean, what does it entail? So Empire has been. So Empire was, I think it began in 2010. So our leader, the big boss, by the name of a gentleman by the name of Gazi, based in San Francisco in the U.S. He started, I believe, Empire. So Empire has three. I guess there's three divisions, if you can say. There's the distribution, and that's how Empire started. So from my understanding, he used to be part of TuneCore, and then he I guess things weren't aligning
Okay.
for him
For
there.
him there.
Especially, I think, with regards to how creatives were being, I guess, how they were, how it wasn't aligning from how creatives were being treated, let's just say something like that. So, so Empire actually started as a distro company. So he created Empire as a distribution company, and I guess as time went by, then I guess maybe in 2014, then he started offering record label services. So Empire is not a record label, but we do offer record label services. That's why Empire actually doesn't own any masters like a record label would. We don't own masters and the like. And we work on licensing deals and the like.
Yeah.
So then I guess then we started offering record label services, and publishing got introduced, and this all was in America. And then I think it was like in 2019, Empire started expanding. They started, I guess, offering record label services in West Africa, and that's where I think if you've seen some of the acts who Empire have actually built, it's amazing. And so I was a fan of Empire before even engaging with Empire, because I was like, I'd not seen a record label do. Not the record label. I'd not seen a company do the things that Empire had done in terms of exporting our talent. You know what I mean? And at the time, and till today, actually, one of my favorite artists is Fireboy, DML. And like, I was seeing the things that they were doing, and like what they did with Peru and all those things, and I was just a fan of it. And then, I mean, on the roster, in terms of record label services, there's the likes of, there's Fireboy, Ashake, who's currently destroying things. It's this phenomenon. I love him. There is Black Sheriff from Ghana, Kiss Daniel. You know, there's all these acts. And as I said, what really attracted to me was the fact that we were seeing the export of our talent. You know what I mean? So I mean, eventually I can't remember what year it was. Must have been 2 years ago. No. When did I join? I joined Empire last year. So it must have been...
Last year being 2022?
2021.
Okay.
In 2021 is kind of when we started having conversations, and we were just like, just kind of with Empire, and they'd shared that they were looking for someone to head up their publishing division if I was interested, and at the time I definitely was. And then things rolled out, and so I'm the first employee in terms of the publishing. So there has been a team from the continent who've been working, but I think it's been a lot focused on the record label services and the distro. So for publishing, I was the first employee on the publishing side, and it's really building, actually. This job is going to entail, well, outside of the things I mentioned in terms of a publisher, it's really building this publishing company for the continent. And, you know, one of the things I want to, and what's exciting to me is the same energy they had for the record label services is the same energy we have for publishing as well, you know, to look at really getting people also out and exporting. And I mean, it's a bit easier as well because, I mean, you're seeing how Africa, the world's eyes on Africa in terms of music. Amapianos is doing things. It's ridiculous what Amapiano is doing globally, as well as other African genres have started. Well, Afrobeat is always kind of thing, but now there's also different kinds. There's Altair and all these. So it's just an exciting time. And, you know, yeah, the idea is to really I think, as I said earlier, songwriters and producers are forgotten creatives.
Yeah.
And my mission is to really shine a spotlight on our songwriters and producers, you know. And because why in Africa why are there no Timberlands and why are there no Pharrells? And,
that's a very good
you know
question,
what I mean?
Heike. That's a very good question.
So that's where, in my head, I want us to establish and build brands like that.
That's a great question. I actually wanted to do a show that was along those lines because I realized that we know of the performing artist, but for real, the real guy is the person that made the song that the performing artist laced their vocal on that beat. We need to know that guy, their story. We need to know the story. We need to know that guy. So now you are currently at Empire, and just I want to swiftly just go into the industry part since we're already in it. Straight up. I mean, you are an expert at this, let me say, this publishing business and this licensing business thing. So I just want to ask now, I mean, you've seen like those sort of independent record labels that function in South Africa. I mean, for instance, I'm gonna make an example. Like right now, Sir Trill's Conversation. Correct. I know. Have you seen? Yeah, what's your opinion on that?
You see, so one of the issues I think for us is that we have the talent, and I see Sir Trill as a talent, and the thing is that I think we expect too much of our talent because Sir Trill, he's a talent and he understands music, and making music is what he wants to do, right? But now, just as many others, a lot of people don't understand that this is also a business. So the talent isn't lacking. We've got talent the heck. And talent will continue. However, we've got this, for me, we are missing this whole layer of like proper managers, proper business managers in our industry who should be hand in hand with the talent, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
They should take that course you took.
They should. Masterclass, absolutely, they should. Absolutely, they should, for real. I mean, it's whack. And I mean, the story that's happening to Sir Trill is not something we haven't heard before. It's not new. So it's like those situations that it's just like, what we need to do, and this goes into now MOTI as well for me, because MOTI, which is my platform, Masters of the Industry Africa, the purpose of it is to just start planting the seed of showing people that, oh wait, so okay, yes, you can be in studio, you can make music as the creative, however, there's all this that also needs to be handled in order for me to make sure I'm making revenue, because at the end of the day, it's about also making, it's about making
definitely
money.
About it.
It's about making money. So, for Sir Trill, for example, when he was doing stuff, did he ever do any split sheets? Has his music ever been notified at the collection management organizations?
Because,
does he have a publisher? So it's all these things, and like, I mean, so it's just like, these are little things that we are sleeping on, that at the end of the day, only the creative ends up losing.
So, just before you get to that, Mal, because with these kind of artists, sometimes they sign with other indie under indie record labels, and they kind of expect their indie record labels to handle all of that. So are you now, well, how do I put this? Are we now saying that there's a possibility that there's a gap in tools with some indie record labels?
I think so, absolutely. Because, I mean, some of these indie record labels, you find them, they're owned by artists.
Oh, that's a fact. They are definitely being owned by
artists. You know what I mean? And the artists will only know what an artist knows.
So far, yeah.
But that's unlike that this whole layer that's just missing, that we're not adhering to hence why we keep seeing the same repetition of this person. And also, as I said, that's record label. A lot of people don't even know what publishers are meant to do or the function of what a publisher does. So yes, you sign to the record label, but then what about your publishing? You know, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that we definitely need to step up more in terms of learning and understanding the business side of the industry.
Yeah.
And having a person there, business managers that are actually checking things off to make sure the artist is doing these things, or you have your road manager as well. So you have your business manager, maybe you have a road manager, or maybe they're one and the same person, but they're making sure that they're checking off to make sure that, okay, this is done. We've just recorded a song in studio. Okay, guys, what are the splits?
Yeah.
Okay, this is how we're going to split it up. Once you know the splits, that road manager or whoever, the business manager, they then are going to the collections management organizations, to SAMR and Capacity, saying, guys, here are the splits we're notifying you. Here are the splits. Or alternatively, if you've signed to a publisher, you go to your publisher and say, publisher, here are the new splits for Munya's new song that he did. Can you make sure it's registered with the CMOs, which is one of the functions of the publisher, to make sure your stuff is also registered? Can you make sure it's registered? And that we're, but we're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
We're just focusing on good times in the studio.
True.
It's part of it.
It's a big chunk of it, but
Absolutely.
the other part is a big chunk of it too.
Absolutely. We've got two big chunks.
We've got big chunks, and we're not looking at each chunk the way we're supposed to look at them.
Not.
And Mob, did you wanna add something?
Yes. I wanted to posit something.
Okay, deposit.
Yes,
Deposit.
I wanted to pose this to Mr. Chanetsa to say, we were talking about this before we started recording. After some time of observing and covering this sector, one of the things that you really come to understand is the fact that creatives, right? Creatives are just like, look what's going on in traditional media, right? Journalists, for example.
Yeah.
Journalists have been disrupted in a huge way.
Correct.
Back in the day, all journalists wanted to do was to just go out, right, investigate, do whatever they do, right? But now you have to be sort of like a brand of some sort. You have to treat yourself like a business,
Correct.
right? And I think artists, it's unfortunate, but but if you're going to be an artist, you are a business.
Absolutely.
Right? Jay-Z has a nice line about him being I'm a businessman. Not to say I'm a businessman, I am the business.
Absolutely.
And
that's why there's a separation between Sean Carter
Yeah.
and Jay-Z.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, one of the things that I'm now advocating for, because we keep talking about, no, people need to educate themselves about business. People need to understand what's happening and all that stuff. But if there's one thing about human beings like what they like, and they don't like what they don't like. And usually what they don't like is the hard work. It's the tedious things. It's the monotonous
the education.
things. It's the,
Yeah.
So one of the things that I am now like an advocate of is like an internship or something, but just have some corporate experience.
Correct.
Right? And especially if it's related to your field. Let's say you're an artist. If you at least go and work at a radio station, there's a piece of the ecosystem that you start to understand about how music actually gets on air and all of that stuff. That I think that structured type of thinking, when you then get into you being an artist for yourself or being in a record label. Because I honestly sometimes feel like what artists lack is professionalism, right? And professionalism comes from being exposed to some of those environments. If you're forced to be in a corporate environment, a bank, a hospital, whatever it is, there's certain structure, procedures, ways of doing things, a way of thinking that quite honestly is not there in a lot of, artists' interactions. And we see the byproduct of that in the fights that people see at the end of the day. Because for you to think about split sheets and all of that stuff, you need to have a structured way of thinking where you're not just going into the studio for fun times, right? If you've ever been in like and that's why I say corporate, and I say corporate simply because when you're in a corporate, you understand, okay, fine, this is what we're producing. But you now understand that there's a whole series of things behind what whatever's being produced. So I think if you learn that, and I say learn that in the experiential way of doing things, internet a record label, for example, a major.
Yeah.
If you internet a major, and the day that you decide, okay, I want to start my own record label, you at least understand
Absolutely.
what's
Correct.
going on. You haven't, yes, you could go read the book, but I honestly think there's
Theory.
just something about experiencing it, going
Practical
through it, that
experience.
practical. Yeah, so it was just, I'm just throwing it out there to be like, I know creatives don't like that side of things, but if you want to eat,
There's certain things you have to just do.
you just, yeah.
If you want to eat, yeah.
But let's as a creative musician and a performing DJ. I mean, look, I understand. I did BSc law in varsity, and I decided not to do my LLB because I wanted to pursue my dream in being in entertainment and being in media.
Okay.
But I will say that what I studied in law has really helped me out with how I run my business and how I interact with certain people, and how, for instance, if you get laid off at a residency, you need to check that out because you are due for something.
Yeah.
Like, it helped me out in terms of how I implemented it. There was a situation I had with the residency I had where they thought they could lay me off, but I was on their payroll.
Yes.
And I had a letter of that says I work here. Do your business. So I had a resolution with that situation. But that's the most exact example that I make. But now, the thing about being a creative is that you want to create,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes. So you want to create, and you have the capacity to the level of creation.
Yes.
So now you then go, let me trust someone else. Let me trust Munya. Let me trust Sony. Let me trust them. Let me trust this record label to do the rest because I only have the capacity to create. Because the fact is, you can only do so much. As a creative, as someone who's done a lot of her work herself, the fact is that you can only do so much. You can forego one for the other. And as a creative, you don't want to forego creating. Correct. You just wish that it will eventually make you the money that you can eat from it. And now, the one thing that I think you need to then maybe give an opinion on is, how do then artists create this sustainable bubble for themselves, whereby going into a deal, for instance, they don't come out having greedy conversations like this.
Yeah.
Because in our eyes, a lot of the majors they're not good people. They're not good people.
That's how they're viewed.
That's how we view them. Yeah, they're not that good people, and you're working for major organizations. So what exactly is the disconnect between the artists and that part?
Before Munya answers, I just want to throw something in. It's short. You know me, I'm an economist, so I'm going to hit you with the economics. In economics, we have a principle called asymmetric information. Asymmetric information in economics is where in a market or in a business transaction, one person knows more than the other, right? So the typical example is, if you get a job, most of the time the employer knows how much they are willing to pay you. You don't know how much to ask for. There's a disconnect. So the person who has the bargaining power is the employer, because they know more than you do in that bargain. And I was just going to say, I feel like when it comes to the majors, if you don't know and you walk into the negotiations,
No, so I think, so just adding to what you said, you're very right. Everything has its place. Majors are not bad. I don't think majors are bad. Absolutely. But majors are businesses. So just kind of adding on to what you said, it's about business at the end of the day. People, it's not about friendships, it's not trying to do, it's business. So they looked as the bad guy because I guess people naively go in, and if anything, they might just get excited by the name of who they're signing with, but they don't know what they've just signed. And that's where, as a creative, why are you signing a document that you don't even understand what you're signing?
True.
If you know what I mean. There has to be ways in which you can reach out to get legal advice, get legal opinions, get legal people to actually read because legal is its own language on its own.
Yeah, true.
Legal is designed. It's designed in such a way that
Yeah.
So it's. But why are you as a creative then? Why are you just blindly signing things? And I mean, so it's almost like the onus is the creative needs to also, and that's where also the team comes into play as well, because not all creators have a team.
Yeah.
And even the team sometimes that they do have, they're not really versed, and like you just make a hit, for example, you go viral or whatever. You just reach out to me because I'm your boy, and you're like, "Will you be my manager?" I don't know what managing is. In my head, being a manager is just getting gigs for you and parting with you maybe, and making sure you just get from A to B. And when it comes to money, I negotiate and tell people, no, you must give a 15K or whatever for a set. Whereas it's business. That's the only thing to say. It's business. We need more business-minded people, and that's why I think Nigeria shines. Nigeria is just on another level because they are so business-minded. People, it's business first more than anything, and that's why you can see that they leaps and jumps ahead of anyone else. It's just because of how they've just conducted. It's very intentional how they do things. A lot of these guys. What I also found out in Nigeria when I used to travel, when I started traveling in my early days traveling there, like a lot of these managers, you'd find out that they have like law degrees. Like they actually are, like, you know what I mean? They're not just someone in the corner who just not on the corner. They're not just a homie.
The corner is a good place to be.
They're not just someone who you just know,
good
who you just trust. These are qualified people. They understand how to do certain things. And in me saying this, it's not necessarily, I'm not saying everyone needs to become a lawyer now, but there are people in this. There are places where you can find these services specifically for artists. So I mean, you need to figure out how to engage with them, and then also as a creative. As in one of the things, just like any business, the truth is, capital is required. You need to have money, just like any business. If you were going to go and start selling water bottles or bottles of water on the corner of the street, you can. In order for you to buy stock, you need capital to buy. So, I mean, it's just the same way where you need to also have a mind thinking, nothing is for my, you need to also have a mind thinking, okay, I need to have money to make sure that at least I can afford to get some legal services or get some legal advice to make sure I'm at least making the right moves and stuff. Because, and you have to make a plan. People, where do I get the money? Make a plan.
Where do you get the money?
Just the same way if you had starting a business, where would you get the money?
You make a plan.
You have to make a plan. Whether you're borrowing from friends or family and you're making deals, or, I mean, obviously I do wish, because also the one challenge I can acknowledge is that, like, it's not as easy as for a creative just to go to a bank and get a loan for this, though. That's one thing I can acknowledge, because I guess because the way the industry is structured is that sometimes it's like things haven't been done properly. Sometimes it's hard to evaluate. A bank would probably see investing as a high risk because can you forecast? Can you show us how to forecast? So until we start doing things professionally, like doing just the step-by-step things, our industry, we can't even value it. I don't even like.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good line. Our industry, we can't even value it.
Like, what is the value? I mean, I think everyone is seeing internationally all these big deals where catalogs are being purchased. Well, buying catalogs is a big thing now. You're seeing people buying catalogs. I think, was it last night or the day before with Quality Control, with Scooter Braun, and they just bought.
I think Dr. Dre as well.
Dr. Dre, that was a few years back.
Yeah.
So I think last night was the QC with the guys with them who Quality Control was handling Migos as well as other people, but they just recently they seem to have but it's like, why are we not seeing those kind of things happening here? Because it's hard to value, because we haven't kept stuff in order.
Yeah, okay.
The admin is not being done. And as you said, that's the boring stuff now. No one wants, people want to focus on the career. But someone has to do it. We have to start doing these things.
So how do we then, like, how do we start? Oh my gosh. Like, I'm just trying to...
It's just, you need to find the information. So let's go to MOTI now.
Yeah, then we...
MOTI
we
Africa.
go to MOTI now, I guess.
MOTIAfrica.com. That's my platform, which I launched in last year. Yeah, in last year, actually. Well, not in last year. I launched it last year. And the purpose of this platform is to provide the much needed information that any creative or anyone who's interested in being in the music business needs to know. Initially, I was working on a subscription model for that thing, but then as I realized people don't have money, so it's tricky.
As you're asking people to pay a monthly thing.
So I recently made the decision to make it free. So currently you can just register for free and you can get access to everything that you need to access for free. The videos that I've done thus far. And I've touched on things about the importance of branding. I even created a branding questionnaire thing that these are questions you should ask yourself when it comes to branding and establishing yourself as a brand or as a business, as you rightly said earlier. I talk about I'm trying to create the narrative so people can understand and see, okay, so once you do that, this is next. I talk about the importance of split sheets. I talk about the collection management organizations. I talk about the importance of metadata, and these are all these things that we're not adhering to are reasons why we're losing in this industry. Metadata, which is basically song information, it's not there. If you go into Spotify for most acts, I can tell you anyone right now. Name an artist, a local artist right now. Just name anyone.
Try this. I want to try this.
Just name. I'm going to Spotify.
Let me name my most listened to artists.
Okay,
Aries.
Aries. He's on Spotify.
Yeah.
Okay, Aries. I just had to take my phone off flight mode, by the way, so hopefully no one calls. Aries. Cool. Let's see, which is Sneaky. Okay. No.
What do you see there?
His information is there. Well done, Aries. Shout out. So usually what you often find is none of this information is all here. None of this. All you'll just see is the performing artist.
The
and
written
none of this
by,
metadata.
produced by,
You'll never
the
see
source,
it.
okay.
But shout out Aries. Shout out.
Okay.
It's well done.
I'm
but
pleasantly
majority
surprised
of the
because I
time-
wasn't sure too. I wasn't sure.
But I'm telling you right now, majority of guys, you'll see that information is not there, which is the reason why now money's not flowing in the
Money's
right
not
way.
flowing,
Whether you're the writer, you should be also getting royalties, but now as a writer, you're not, because you're not listed on the metadata, because you haven't done splits, you're not getting money which you should be getting to reinvest into your craft.
Yeah. So these are all doable things, you say.
Absolutely.
That this is something that you
It's
can.
just admin. It's admin. It's
yes,
administrative
that's
stuff which people don't want to do, as you said. People want to focus on the fun things, which is fine. But,
Yeah.
But that's why, so ultimately, going back to MOTI.
Yeah.
MOTI, the purpose of MOTI is to provide the information, and it's to also try and encourage that management layer, which I said is missing, encourage people to start stepping up and wanting to be in this management layer, because we all can't be performing artists.
That's true.
We all can't be Aries. We all can't be Blackies. We all can't be, we need to start understanding that, okay, you know what, there's a place for them, and there's also a place for people who just understand the industry, who can now help the Arieses and the Blackies and the Nasty C's to make sure their stuff is all in order so that the money flows properly. That's ultimately what it's about. Let the money flow.
Let the money flow.
But right now,
Yeah, okay.
it's not flowing as it should. And there's issues. And then also now when money can't flow, you can't hold people who are meant to be accountable for things. You can't hold anyone accountable.
Yeah.
The only thing people just shout, Samro. That's the only thing people ever know. But when you're complaining about Samro, but what's the issue? Like, sometimes I want to go to people and be like, okay, you're shouting or crying that Samro's the problem. What exactly is the problem? And you'll find out people they just say, Samro have money and they're not giving us money.
Yeah, that's it.
all
That's
you
the
can
common thing
but
that
why?
artists that
Is
we
there
say.
a reason? Are they not? Did you notify Samro as a composer, as an author? Do they know that you're meant to get works? You know what I mean? Until you start doing these basic things for me, these are basics. These are like foundational basic things. You can't even hold anyone accountable.
So you feel like, so just to be clear, you feel like that's the main and probably the major reason as to why money really isn't flowing into like the artist's pocket.
The admin.
The
That we're
admin
not
of
doing
it.
the admin, and the admin shouldn't fall on the creatives, and that's why I'm saying that we need to encourage business-minded people to step up and to actually help help the journey of our artists so that our creators don't die broke, which is something we see
So common.
so common.
Yeah.
As usual, people are sorry, it doesn't make sense.
But in sorry, we definitely will, like MOTI, I love the idea of the organization. I'm definitely going to subscribe or going to request the services. But see, I've lost my train of thought now.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's okay.
Huh?
Shall I continue with MOTI?
Yes.
Okay, I'll continue with MOTI. So with MOTI, so outside of the much needed information and the basics, there's also, on MOTI, I've been able to conduct some really dope interviews, which I call MOTI masterclasses. So MOTI masterclasses with individuals. I've done them with all the different guys at the CMOs. So each CMO, Samro, there's an interview with Samro, there's an interview with Capasso, there's an interview with Sampra, there's an interview with Risa, there's an interview with Eco people, key people in these industries who are explaining, and we're just engaging. And I mean, I know this stuff, but I'm trying to engage from a layman's point of view to understand what exactly is your function, what should you be doing. And these are videos that they're all available currently on the MOTI website. And I tell people, watch this shit, understand. And then as well as that, there's some other functions on the MOTI website. I've created there's a metadata form, a digital metadata form that's there, which, because I also because when you register, you open an account. So the idea is that when you have your own, you can consolidate and have all your stuff in one place. So there's metadata forms there that just need to be completed, just dating, and it will ask you all the information that you just need to put in, so that at least you know your metadata is in order. There's also a digital split sheet that I've created there, so that ideally, so you're in the studio, because maybe the process was cumbersome, maybe because people weren't doing split sheets, because you get into the studio, now you have to go print a piece of paper and you have to write, and then now you have to get everyone to sign it, and then you have to now scan it and send it to everyone. But we've tried to I've digitized that whole process on the MOTI platform. So you can go there, there's a digital split sheet that you can use where you just put all the information that you need. Who's the composer, what's the percentage of the composition that they own.
Sorry, I want to cut you on that, by the way. Do you have advice on how, between the artists, how sharing percentages, what's the fair thing, what's the legal thing?
There's no real it's really about, it's a negotiating amongst the people who are in the room.
Because they don't know where to start.
Because the way some people just say, listen, it's just me and you, we do it 50-50. Or it really should be according to your contribution to what you've put in. If you know that in this song all you did was clap, it's clap, then I mean, maybe you're not entitled to 50%.
Of course you're not. But now, in a conversation where is there like a legal amount, a percentage that is required for you to, let me say, in a song where you're required to give the composer, give the producer? It's
all about a negotiation.
It's a negotiation. So there's no legal due percentage for you on a project.
What some people do just to make it easy is they say, listen, what we're going to do is, a song is 100%. Let's split it 50-50. 50% goes to the authors, 50% go to the producers. And what we do is we then split it up accordingly. So within the 50, so maybe, so let's say 50-50, the authors, maybe there were two people who did the songwriting, contributed to the writing. So that 50%, you split that 50-50. So that means 25-25 each. Then for the producers, guys who contributed to the music and stuff, maybe there was only one. So he can say, okay, then I'll just get my 50 then for that. But it's all a negotiation. There's no hardcore rules. Maybe that same kind of trio, maybe they just say, listen, we just split it down the line, 33% each of us, and we just do it.
I like that.
Everyone sign off. It's all a negotiation. It does make it easier. However, it does just depend on the person's contribution.
I once had a conversation with someone who legit, I mean, they were responsible for writing the song. They legit were convinced that they had majority ownership to the song, just because they wrote the lyrics.
I mean,
they were legit convinced.
It's all a negotiation. I can't say they're wrong.
They owned the song.
Some people, that could be the deal. Sometimes you can be like, listen, because I'm the performing artist, I've got the brand name, I'm known all around the world. So because of that, I'm not budging. I will always get 50% on my songs, even though then the rest of you guys can. It's all about the negotiation, how you have to figure it out. That's you just have to chop it up however it makes sense to everyone, and everyone must just agree. That's the most important thing. Everyone agrees and everyone signs that split sheet.
Okay.
And then you move from there.
I'm actually so happy about how the conversation was structured, because just you told us how the seed of MOTI was planted, and now you've told us exactly what kind of resources MOTI offers, and how essentially it would make, because I wanted to know how MOTI makes life easier for the artist.
Yeah, that's how it is for the creative. And if any creative, I mean, if you're the creative, if you're the artist, find whoever you now you're a manager. That's who you should be telling to jump onto MOTI. Like, yes, you can watch it. You can watch the videos, of course. It's good for you to know, so you can also ask the right questions. But the onus shouldn't be on you. Find another person, whoever your manager is, to say, listen, go to the MOTI platform and just listen to these things. Are we doing these things? Are we doing the split sheets? Yes or no? Are we doing metadata properly? Yes or no? Are we doing the, even with regards to my brand, I always say, like, yeah, you need to, like any brand, like, that's why I often say that sometimes, when it comes to like radio sampling and the like, it's like it's not a scam, but it's just like,
Oh, I like
artists,
scam. Continue with that thought.
I feel why a lot of artists just go to radio plugins and say, plug me everywhere.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. Your music won't appeal to every single radio station because you're within a genre. You can't now ask someone to go
plug
everywhere and to plug my music, and then you're getting rejections, and then you're getting up. But the truth is, was your music even right for those stations that you plugged in? And I mean, radio plugger, obviously they'll take your money. That's their job. But
So
ultimately,
you reckon we shouldn't be?
I'm not saying it like that, but I think now this is where the business comes in. You need to know who you are as a brand. You need to know how and where to position yourself, which makes the most sense. So that when you go to a radio plugger, you're not saying plug me everywhere.
Yeah.
You're saying plug me on these stations. I know that my music works for these stations. Plug me on these ones.
Okay.
And you select whatever, your 10 or your 7. But to say plug me on every single radio station and then you get upset, it doesn't make sense. So those are the kind of things, and that's why I'm like, you can't even hold going to accountability. How do you hold someone accountable? You've told me to plug you everywhere. Listen, I've tried to plug you everywhere, it didn't work, but thanks for your money, and I'm done. So that's where it's like, you need to learn how to position yourselves. Where, in terms of the music that you're doing, where are people consuming it mostly? Are they listening on Spotify, or are they doing it more on Apple? And sometimes you can use other people who are within your genre that, as a case studies, like to be like, okay, I can see that this is the moves that they make. This is the platforms that make sense for them. Maybe these are the same ones I should also follow. Let's see, and use that as a template to position yourself so you're in the right places. But to just say when I say that, I'm not saying you should only put yourself on Apple and not. DSPs, you should put yourself on all the DSPs, the digital service providers. But maybe they could be more focused on one than the other, for example. Maybe you're establishing more of a relationship with Spotify, and you want to make sure that on Spotify I have these, I'm positioned here, I'm getting the banners, I've got the new Friday, whatever, I'm on that or the playlist. You know what I mean? You should, maybe some of them you have a little bit more focus, but just to say everywhere, it doesn't make sense. And that goes back to not treating things like it's a business, not positioning yourself.
I think that's the theme of this entire conversation, as the part of treat yourself like a damn business and have these systems because you utilize these systems.
Unless you're doing this for fun. If you're doing this as a hobby, continue. As in where you don't really care if it makes money. You're just doing it because it's just it fills your soul. Then continue doing it as you're doing it. But if you want to actually have a career, you've got to treat it like a business, because it is business.
So 2 things before we wrap up, and just taking into account your time limits. 2 things. Having MOTI, right? Having founded MOTI and the kind of work that you do, is there no conflict of interest with?
Not at all, actually, and that's why I love Empire. So, even with regards to with Empire understand, and I think this is and it was shared with me that this is what was made me appealing to join the team, that the fact that I had the entrepreneurialness to launch a platform. Not only that, but the importance of education. They recognize that. You need to understand this industry because it makes everyone's job so much harder. if that makes sense. Even if I'm at a record label or whatever, it's so much harder if you don't understand the things that you're making. It makes my job harder. You know, and I think Empire recognized that, and they are fully. That was one of the things that they were like, you know, MOTI, we love MOTI, and we actually want to support MOTI as well. So that's why I fuck with Empire, yo.
Okay, I
Yeah.
hear that. So now, I just had a thought in terms of this whole publishing, licensing, syncing conversation. You know, that's something difficult for a lot of people to understand. And what would you say then are the basic do's and don'ts for artists who are who are now actively activated to thinking within those spaces?
The do's and don'ts?
Yeah, like the basic stuff, man.
I mean, without a doubt, I mean, when it comes, it's just kind of reiterating things, the business stuff. So treating it like a business, having your admin and stuff in order, your paperwork needs to be done. Finding someone to assist you with legal advice as well, so that you're not trying to sign documents that you don't know. Doing your split sheets, making sure your metadata is clean as well. Making sure, doing your split. Like for me, for publishing, split sheets is everything.
Split sheets is everything.
If you don't have split sheets, it makes it so hard for me to now collect your money and to apportion
Oh,
the
I
correct amount.
see.
Split sheets is so important when it comes to it. So, and another do I'd say is check out motiafrica.com.
That's what I do. Okay, so MOTI has all the answers,
That's
clearly.
it.
MOTI
Facts.
has the answers. They have the resources,
And
clearly.
they got the
They
resources.
have...
And I plan on shooting more content, creating more content for the platform, as well as looking at doing some more, like just workshops and stuff with MOTI. I think it's important to actually also, for us to actually
I
touch
agree
and be,
because
you know?
what we realized just quickly is that a lot of musicians don't know this kind of information. Majority of people, bedroom producers, for instance, they don't know this information. So if you can do workshops, and if
Those are
we
the
can
things.
also target like the Gazis and do active
Absolutely.
workshops there, then we could just like disperse a lot of information as to really how to eat through this thing.
Yes.
Because a lot of artists are thinking, man, I need to eat. How do I do that? So if
Yes.
you're saying that also through MOTI, you guys can be able to answer the question of how do I eat?
That's it. That'll be I think that'll be the name of the first workshop.
Yeah,
MOTI,
how do I eat?
Done. We do it like that, and we
How
take it
do I
around.
eat?
But those are the plans that I have got in place. These are the things I want to do physically do workshops, and at least when I walk away from the workshops, because one of the things I do, when we were talking earlier, I've done so many talks, I've done so many workshops, talks, podcasts, interviews, etc., and one of the things I remember, and this is also one of the things why I said MOTI, why I created MOTI, is because I remember always feeling that when I leave, wherever I've done, I've just had an interview with you, we've talked, we're all good. There's probably some light bulbs that you're like, oh, I didn't know this, oh, I didn't know this. But the thing is that I always felt that I would leave with the information. And when I leave, you almost reset to default because you can't talk to me now. I'm gone. I'm no longer there. You go back to default and continue doing it. So that's why MOTI was also important, so that there's always a point of reference where you can go back and be like, okay, yeah, we watched Munya, or we were part of the workshop, and Munya had all these guests, which is all good and well, but I didn't quite understand. Oh, maybe we can still go. Then you can still go to the MOTI platform and just to kind of just listen again and make it just help you understand it more. So, yeah.
I feel like because of our time situation, I think we need to have another episode where you come and then hopefully we can just dive into some other stuff that I definitely would have wanted to dive into. So, but for now, I just want to thank you for sharing your knowledge with us and for also pulling up and doing this with us. It's going to be so impactful for a lot of people because this is what the platform is for, to kind of get that kind of information. So when you come back, we are
We're going in.
No, we're going.
Yeah,
we're
dissect,
going
eat,
in. You know what you do when you eat meat and then you're.
the
the
bone.
bone and the marrow, and you, that's what we're doing when
Let's
you
do
come
it.
back. That's
I'm
what you do
happy.
it. That's what we do it. Otherwise,
Happy
is
and
there
happy.
any last words that you want to share with the artist or anybody else who's watching?
I think well, we've really extensively gone through everything. So I mean, treat your stuff like a business. Go to motiafrica.com, and yeah, I mean, we're on the socials as well, so
Yeah.
feel free to holler and connect there. The platform is free now, so there's no. I'm trying to remove any excuses, so there shouldn't
Yeah.
be any more excuses.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep shooting content, and yeah, let's just. This is all for the betterment of the industry.
100%, so that we can finally put a value to it.
That's it. Yeah. At the end of the day, let's put a value to it.
Yeah.
And can I do a shout out to my?
Yes,
I want to do a
please.
shout
Whatever
out to
you want.
to my guys at. There's a platform called Mercha who are focusing on merchandising. This is actually shout out to Nadia and Nikai.
Do they?
They're the guys who are responsible for doing the.
They manufacture,
the-
and I'm looking for.
Mercha.com or is it .coza? I'll send you.
I'm looking for one
Mercha,
right now for
that's what
the
they
Side
do.
Sessions merch.
That's what they do. So this is what they do. They've done Uncle Vinny. They've done for Nadia Nakai. Shout out to Nadia. Actually, you know, when I started, Nadia was one of the first artists that I managed. Back in the
Look
early
at this information.
2010s. Shout out Nadia as well. But yeah, shout out Braga and shout out Mercha. So yeah, this is. So I'm always for solutions for Africans by Africans. And this is wholly African owned, and yeah, they're focusing on the merchandise game to open up revenue streams, another revenue stream for creatives. So, shout out.
Okay, I'm looking for one, so we'll have that chat. I'll get that information. Otherwise, thank you again.
Welcome.
And so now we're just gonna quickly sign out. This was a side session. That's Munya Chanetsa.
Munya Chanetsa.
Munya Chanetsa. I feel I'm insecure because I don't want to pronounce it wrong.
You got it. Chanetsa.
Yes.
Chanetsa.
A master of the industry. Check out MOTI Africa. It's motiafrica.com.
That's it.
Yeah, motiafrica.com. Check them out on the socials. Link yourself to that because I really think that MOTI is such a great platform, especially when it comes to the resources that we need as artists. So otherwise, for now, this is the Side Session signing out. Mwah.